This is my raw review of the Go Home episode of Backlash, and you know, I would say this is one of the more like strong Go Home episodes of Backlash. The off pay-per-views, like WWE generally under Triple H has not really cared that much about like Go Home episodes, because a lot of things that they do they set up for the week after, and and it's like they're like, I think in their minds they're like, people are already gonna watch the show, we don't really need to do much. But things happened on the show which did matter for Backlash. The Lyra Becky, I would say the you can say that the inserts were like a little bit repetitive, but it kind of makes sense, because essentially what Lyra is getting to with Becky and what they showed in this promo segment was the reality of Becky, betraying Lyra or attacking Bailey is not really about, you know, that she dislikes Bailey so much and that Lyra is, why did she team up with her? It's essentially that she's jealous. She's jealous of Lyra because she thinks that, how can she become the first ever Intercontinental Champion? How can she, be so young and achieve so much so early in her career while she had to, fight through so much? And like maybe and that she's Irish also, that the thing that she may uh, exceed her as an Irish icon in wrestling as well. I think this promo did that. Like it really showed Becky as an out of touch legend who is like, you don't appreciate me, like that certain jaded wife in her like 40 50s to her son and husband. Why didn't you appreciate me after all I did and everything? Like, and it was good. Like Lyra really showed out in this promo. You can say it was a little bit repetitive, but I think it was good. Like the things that Lyra said, especially about that you can't handle that, I'm the first ever Intercontinental Champion, like shoving it in her face, like standing on her ground, that you were just an inspiration, you were nothing more than that. That like stay happy that you're in second place when I'm here. Like when you were gone, like all of us stepped up, and in the end the brawl, like she had a really nice, like I think roundhouse kick on her face as well, which was pretty good too. You also had, I'm talking about the other stuff, then I will talk in detail about the Seth Rollins stuff also. Then you had the Rusev versus Otis match. I would have preferred Rusev to be more dominant than he was. And even the post match angle where he was like, he attacked or Tozawa from the back, I would have preferred if he just attacked him right there on his face. But good, a good like a very like strength display was between them. They gave Otis a lot in this match, despite that he is being treated as a jobber. Like they really gave him a lot. Like they had him, threw him over the announcer table as well. Like he was like, I think shoving him also in the ring. In the end, Rusev won. He beat up Tozawa after the match, threw him on top of Otis, like still had the Machka lock on him, and he said some stuff which we'll probably get in a promo next week, in the promo package. We'll probably get Rusev versus Tozawa next week. And also I feel he did, I would have preferred if he like took that Alpha Academy shirt and put it around the neck of Otis and gave him the Machkalok, like saying that, this Alpha Academy stuff has really like, choked you. In reality also, like has choked your career. And he did that, and all this Pierce came out. I would have liked if Pierce for the next Pat McAfee segment would have like first said some 2 3 lines about the Rusev stuff happening and then moved on, which would have made it seem a little bit more scary also. And I like the Rusev's new theme. I like it. Like it suits his character. I don't know why are people against it. I think many people who just stopped, who don't watch AEW but who watch WWE are just like, we want Rusev Day. You're not gonna get Rusev Day. He's not gonna be Rusev Day, and it's good he's not gonna be Rusev Day. He's not gonna be a comedy act with this gimmick. Like he can be in the title division and he can not be in the title division, but he will always be relevant. Rusev Day is just another Alpha Academy gimmick who eventually will get stale, as Alpha Academy got. Like people do not remember how much, oh shush please, and how much that Alpha Academy got over, that they had to turn them face. So but it eventually did die down. So people should remember that also. And one thing is that even if Rusev does not have the title with this gimmick, he can still target people and have meaningful feuds which will keep him relevant as well. So let's see what happens next week with this. We also had the Judgment Day stuff. We had, AJ confronting them, say, he fumbled his lines of saying the Intercontinental Championship. Everyone was about to laugh also, but then, he gathered his thoughts back and he said that, I'm coming for that Intercontinental Championship after Backlash, be it you or Penta, which I think is good. They have been doing like good things with Dominic. Just soon as he became the Intercontinental Championship, they had him face Penta on Raw and had him win the match with JD interfering, like straight away, like putting him on screen, putting him in matches, putting him in feuds with people, who it makes sense to be put into a feud with. Like Penta had already been doing Judgment Day stuff before Mania, and it makes sense for him to go after Dominic because he didn't get pinned at Mania. Dominic pinned him on Raw because of JD, and it is kind of those feuds who they didn't really say that they were building, but they did kind of build this, and it feels like, yeah, it deserves on the Backlash card. It is a lower card match. It is for the IC title, like puts Dominic, shows how much importance like Dominic has as Intercontinental Champion right away on pay-per-view. You get that, and with the stuff that we saw, that Chad Gable interfered in the Penta versus JD match, like we had a lot of interference. I really liked this match, even though the whole match was like 90% like Penta just beating JD's ass. Penta won, and this crowd was such a breath of fresh air after the smarky crowds that we were getting since the last month. Like they were cheering the faces, they were booing the heels, they were going crazy for faces, especially in the phases of matches where you do have to, like according to like a traditional WWE match. Like when Io hit the, they were going crazy, like people were doing it into the crowd. Like when Penta was doing the Cero Miedo and like jumping on JD and the Judgment Day, like they were going crazy for him. So they were going for crazy for Jey Uso also. So I really liked that. I liked, Penta won in the end. Gable tried to interfere, and you know luchadors always get better of El Grande Americano, of Chad Gable. So I do think the thing with having this on the Backlash card is that this can be a good match if they give it time, if they let Dominic go out and just wrestle, like do not hold him back, and they can. But the thing is that Dominic can't really lose because it's his first IC defense, and Penta can't really lose. He has already lost to like Finn Balor in the tag match. He lost to Dominic on the Raw after WrestleMania. But I think he's gonna lose again, but it's probably gonna happen because of El Grande Americano. I think El Grande Americano is gonna interfere. He's gonna do what Chad Gable didn't do, successfully distract Penta. Dominic is going to win. I I do want to know like what is the direction of this El Grande Americano. Like I like it, like people like it, but there has to be an end goal. Like, is this ending on the AAA NXT show? Which I think it kind of has to, because they are branding it as war of both worlds. It kind of makes sense. You're gonna have all the Mexican wrestlers there. So is like Rey Mysterio's injury not that bad that he can return in time for the Money in the Bank? Like it's happening on the same day I think as Money in the Bank. So if it was happening on the same day, like maybe we have Rey Mysterio return. Maybe we can have like a either a singles match or a tag match, Rey Mysterio and Penta versus El Grande Americano and someone else, or maybe a straight away singles match with Rey and El Grande Americano. I think this is ending with Rey taking off the mask of El Grande Americano. I do just hope that it is a tag match, because the first is Rey doesn't really need this. Like, what will he do by winning? And the thing is that if it is a tag match, at least even if Rey like takes the mask of El Grande Americano, there is another one in the match who will benefit from Rey winning. I think that is the main goal. I do want to know like what will be next for Chad Gable, because he, like, they have not booked American Made well, but I think since he got that El Grande Americano character and he started getting over, like they have been doing stuff which has gotten him over with the crowd. it has made sense. It just looks like the end goal is him losing. Of course, he gets these wins over luchadors, but what does it really do for him? Not really, because they are the ones who have just arrived in WWE or like mid carders. So I don't know what is next for Chad Gable after that. And Dominic versus AJ feud straight away, a Dominic AJ feud. Like I like that, but I hope that AJ wins the number one contendership in like a fatal four way or something, because it doesn't make sense. How does AJ straight away go from losing to Logan Paul, who after winning is going after the world championship, probably has had a nice main event, to straight away going into an intercontinental championship feud by not winning a single match? You had the tensions between Finn and Finn and AJ anyways, and the Judgment Day, and there were tensions, but in the end Finn agreed to handle AJ. We are getting AJ versus Balor next week, and I think this is probably gonna result in a Finn Balor face turn soon, and we're probably gonna get Finn and AJ together, maybe Penta also by their side eventually, going up against the Judgment Day. And I think maybe it's gonna end with Finn Balor winning the IC championship. Maybe. Like, I don't think even if he wins the IC championship, he's gonna hold that for long. But I do think this is probably ending with Finn getting that IC title. Maybe Dom gets it back in the end. But I do think some point they're gonna have Finn turn face and have like win the IC title. At least for a while. And I think they're gonna build up then Finn for maybe like Seth's group, and I think if maybe they add Jeff Cobb, maybe they add two more players, and maybe one of them in that faction is gonna face like Finn and become the IC champion also. Maybe that will happen. He also had EO versus Roxanne in a good match. In the end, Rox lost because of like they had a series of like pinfall combinations, and in the end EO won with a roll up. And then Julia and Rox attacked after the match, blindsided them because Rox did a handshake but it didn't work. Rhea was not there because she's in Australia promoting Crown Jewel, which is happening in Australia because they're doing the Royal Rumble next year, and we're gonna get what 3-4 pay-per-views happening in Saudi next year. And then I like this. I like the commentary also mentioning like Rox and Julia are like two NXT call-ups. They're like young guns going after the straight away for the top women. So that's kind of like a pack of wild dogs. So you don't really need much of a story behind them to get them over. Like they're just like two youngsters, or like yeah, or like from the developmental system who wants to like grab the spotlight. But I do hope that they get some kind of promo packages, maybe some interviews to get like the crowd invested in them. I do I do think like they are visually like so heel, like they don't really need much, but I do hope that they get just to get the extra touch with the crowd. Next week we are getting EO and Rhea versus Roxanne and Julia. Maybe this could have happened on the pay-per-view. Like I don't like if like you're having just 5 matches and it just feels like the women's match is just a formality. Like having that one women's match is just formality. Like you didn't really have to do Dominic versus Penta on Backlash. You could have done it next week also, and have the tag match on Backlash, because anyway, like people are the main headline is John Cena versus Randy Orton. So why not have two women's matches instead of one? But okay, like next match, this is probably gonna main event the show, and it's gonna be a great match. I do think that WWE has realized after WrestleMania that the triple threat fatal four way like format is working really well for them. So for the feuds that they don't really have ideas about how to like elongate a feud, or like if they don't really have any like straight away singles feud for like a champion, they'll just do a multi-man feud, or they'll just do a multi-person feud to like elongate the feud. Like they're doing that with this Io Sky and Rhea Ripley feud. Like they are having this frenemy dynamic, and they're adding Rox and Julia first.
that will get them over on the main roster. Also, that this will extend the Io and Rhea Ripley feud till SummerSlam, where I think probably probably Rhea will win the title back, and I think maybe we'll get Rhea versus Bianca Belair next year at Mania, probably. And EO may do some. I don't know what does EO do then, but here I think that is the plan. And I think at Evolution, if it happens, we'll probably get like a triple threat or a fatal four way for the women's championship. EO, Roxanne, Julia, and Rhea Ripley. I think that is probably the plan, because that's what we're seeing on SmackDown too. Like you have two feuds, like Tiffany, Naya, and Naomi and Jade, and they're having this fatal four way stuff because they also want to make sure that Tiffany's like next 3-4 months are like gets done within this, because maybe they don't really have any like more challenges in their minds, and they want to get like more time under her belt essentially for her reign, so they can get this fatal four way. Then Tiffany 9 can have like a singles match. You get like a 2-3 months out of this. You can like elongate the Naomi Jade feud probably till maybe before Money in the Bank. Have like Jade win the last match, have Naomi win the next match after the fatal four way, and then have Jade eventually win the feud, and then Naomi can win the Money in the Bank. I think that's what they're gonna do. Then apart from that, New Day just decided with Chad Gable that they think that Viking Raiders don't deserve a shot at the tag title, so they're having Viking Raiders versus American Made next week. So essentially is that New Day are like scared of the Viking Raiders, and they want to make them face challenges. It's just like there is no like effort put into the tag division. Like you can really have, if you wanted to, you can make this feud into a really good feud. Like New Day are the dastardly heels who cheated at Mania to win the tag team championship. Viking Raiders, whose necks are really like not good. They just won the titles back. They lost because of that, and they have to go through trials and tribulations to get back the tag team championship. It's just that they don't care. They just have to do stuff with the Raw tag team championships because they are there. They can make the story into something, but they choose not to. Like you can see, like putting your tag team championship like in like 1 or 2 minute segments. You had a returning Sheamus against Austin Theory. He kicked the shit out of him. I like the fact, it was very funny that Austin Theory was a little bit on the apron and he was saying, "Why did you do this to me?" Because Grayson at backstage was actually chatting with Pierce, saying that I didn't think that it was going to be him, and then he offered Austin Theory to fight, and he didn't know who the opponent was. So I really like the way the face that Grayson Waller was making. It was very funny. Then he gave the beats of Bordron to him. Overall, Sheamus looks good. A little bit, I think, a little bit fat, but with muscle. He looks good. I like it. And he won against Austin Theory. Probably next week against Grayson Waller. I think this is the first like big feud I think that Rusev is gonna have. I think probably Rusev will face Akira Tozawa next week. Maybe we'll get Sheamus versus Waller also next week, and both of them win their matches. And I do think when Rusev is like beating up Tozawa after the match, also we may get Sheamus there, and this turns into like a three-match feud on Raw. Into like a three-match feud on Raw, kind of like the Pete Dunne feud did, the Ludwig Kaiser feud did as well. And I think if Sheamus gets like a win in between, I don't think it will harm him. It can end with like a great match also, and I think this is good for Sheamus and Rusev. I do hope like Sheamus eventually like wins the IC title. Maybe he wins from Dominic, maybe from Finn Balor. Eventually, I do hope that happens. I had hoped for that to happen at this year's Mania, but it didn't. I do hope that happens uh, later at least. Then you then I think I don't have anything else apart from the main stuff to talk about. So let's talk about the main stuff, which is the opening segment between Jey Uso and also one thing, like Grayson Waller is much better than the spot that he's been given. I have seen him in NXT. His mic work is good. He can be a good mid carder. Like if you build him up, he can be in that IC title division forever. Like he can even be that kind of opponent who main eventers when they lose their titles they can go into feuds with to gain their heat back. But it's just that they book him like a jobber. Like he can be. I've seen his match against Johnny Gargano. Like I have seen him on the mic. He can be better. Then the Jey Uso segment. So Jey Uso came out doing the eating, which I was like, why? Like your, honorary Us, Sammy Uso, got beaten to the inch of his life last week. You didn't show up. You got, punched by Logan Paul, and you are eating. Then you had him in the ring, out of his breath, obviously calling out Logan Paul. He said that he's there, but no, Paul Heyman showed out. He crashed out. Like I really like Paul's points that in his view, like both CM Punk and Roman Reigns put him in positions that he had no choice. Like Roman Reigns abandoned him. Like he helped him out of the island of irrelevancy, being the big dog. Like he really insulted Roman, saying that the big dog went back to lick his wounds after Mania 40. I got powerbombed through the table by the Tongan, Solo, and Jacob at Madison Square Garden. Like where was Roman? Like he really crashed out. It looked like he was gonna have like the Ultimate Warrior moment. He was gonna have like a heart attack in the ring, but he didn't. Like I saw someone on Twitter, like El Petra probably, and also that. In my opinion, I just don't like this promo was really good. Like it made sense. Like he essentially goaded Jay into giving Seth a world title match because he played it to his ego. Like he said that uh, like how everyone has, like what Gunther did. Like he said that Jay, like you can do heat and all, but man, you don't know what it is like to be a world champion. It's about power. Like it's again about underestimating Jay, which he can't take. And he also like Jay also brought up the fact that he never trusted Heyman. That how did Heyman have the guts to to talk to him after what he did to Roman? But then Jay agreed, and we got the match tonight, which was surprising. I didn't watch Raw live. If I had watched Raw live, I would have been surprised a lot. And in the backstage it was essentially Seth was like I always love when a plan goes to work, like we goaded him and all. And it was essentially Braun being in you know like essentially being in awe of Seth, like telling Paul Heyman against Seth freaking Rollins world heavyweight championship. And Paul explaining him like how it happened, like how they goaded him, like him essentially teaching him the ropes. And it kind of makes sense. Like Braun is kind of like a dog on a leash for Seth. Earlier he was a dog who was just wild, but that costed him. Like I know they didn't intended it for to be this, but I hope like Paul can bring it up in a promo where whenever Braun turns that you were the Intercontinental Champion, but you lost to Sami Zayn the first time. Even after you became Intercontinental Champion, you lost to Jey Uso. But then you won back because uh, because Bronson Reed interfered. And even after that, you had to like beg to Adam Pearce to give you matches. Even then, he didn't give you matches regularly. And because of other people's actions and because of Adam Pearce, you got put into a fatal four-way where you lost the Intercontinental Championship, where you didn't even get pinned. So you are a wild dog because with me, you're getting chances. You are brought up by the legends of the businesses. You like no one is out there to exploit you, but without us, you are going weeks without being on TV. You're getting one-on-one title defenses with no preparation. You lost your title in like a fatal four and it didn't get pinned. Without us, you're nothing. And I do hope eventually it does because this is them teaching Braun, how the business works, and eventually when Braun learns all the ropes of the business, when he is ready, he will spare the shit out of Seth Rollins. And like I don't really know what the Mania plan is. Like Mania plan kind of looks straight. Like you have Seth versus Roman, but then who goes into WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion? You're not gonna have Seth versus Roman for the World Championship because I do think Sami Zayn is gonna win the Saudi Arabia Rumble, and I think he's gonna challenge for the World Heavyweight Champion. So what you're gonna have Braun Breaker be the World Champion? But then do you want Braun Breaker to win the title so quick and then like lose to Sami at Mania? And they were not gonna main event. Or but if you have Seth versus Roman, then what does Sami do? So it is kind of like a little bit like iffy, like what does happen in the end. Then this match was insane. Like it got really good in the second half. Like Jay hit like one really good spear also. He got a good kick out after that, and props to WWE because they've had Jay like beat some people with the spear also. That spear kick out, that pedigree kick out, not because of the pedigree, like he didn't hit the full pedigree, it's just that the kick out was so good. Then the kick out on like the stomp, he didn't hit the stomp quick. I liked how Michael Cole brought that up. But even then, nobody really kicks out of the stomp. And the splash kick out, I saw it coming because Seth was doing his hands up like this. But even then, like the match was really good. And in the end, when he hit the curb stomp, even though I know that Jay didn't lose the title, I was like, how does he lose from here after Seth has hit the second stomp? But then, just as he goes for the pin, CM Punk comes out. Before that, Sami Zayn came out. Like people were cheering for Sami. They were giving him the reaction he deserved. Like fuck you, Las Vegas. You didn't give Sami the reaction he deserved. Sami had the reaction that he deserved. He came out, helped his brother, did the tat tat tat, and people were doing it the same. But he got speared by Braun Breaker. I hope Sami brings up, why didn't you mention me? Why weren't you angry with Seth because of me, Jay? I came out and saved you. You didn't say one word about me. And also like how Seth got a little bit up on the hand was because Jay came out to save him, Sami, after that. But man, that fucking spear to Sami by Braun. That spear to Jay after that was not that good, but that Sami spear. Punk came out with the chair, threw on him, Braun, then I think punched him or kicked him, then went with the chair inside the ring, beat Seth up with the chair, beat Braun with the chair. They didn't ring the bell. It's like the match is still going on. But I do think what happened is that Seth won the match with disqualification. This was what was needed for Jay's first title defense. This Raw, the world title felt like it was the world heavyweight championship. It was the top title of the brand. Like it had the the most popular baby face versus going with the number one heel, and I like that. And like putting Seth and Braun and Paul Heyman's faction directly up against baby faces like Sami, especially Jay, who's maybe the most popular baby face, is the right plan if you want them to get booed. And it does well for Jay also because this looks like the story he's going to be involved in going forward. This gives Jay the first title defense that he should had, and he had a great match. Seth carried him a lot, you can see, but I hope his match against Logan at Saturday Night's main event is good. He's probably going to main event that show. Probably John is going to he's going to challenge somebody or somebody's going to kick him, and it's going to happen. So like Jay needed that, and this also establishes that Jay as world champion is not another mid card champion. Like he's going to be involved in the main stuff. This is probably going to be the feud that he's going to be involved in. I think even after he loses his world championship, because you're going to have war games, and Jay is probably going to get involved in that also. So Jay, even after losing the world championship, which he will to Seth, maybe at SummerSlam, he's not going to go like really like down the card. He's still going to be involved in the main stuff, and I like that. I like that how Seth's faction is also straight away going for the top title. Like it establishes them also. I do think probably at SNME we may get Seth and Braun versus Punk and Sami, and maybe after the match maybe after the match you have Jeff Cobb returning too, because I do think Roman, I think, is probably gonna return and Money in the Bank, because the reports were that Roman is gonna return in like June, I think, and mm, I think SummerSlam is in August. So I think probably Roman returns at Money in the Bank, and then maybe you do some stuff with with Roman, Seth, Punk, something at SummerSlam. I don't know what, but maybe like Seth defends. Maybe it's like a WrestleMania rematch. Like you have Seth defend his World Heavyweight Championship against CM Punk and Roman Reigns in a triple threat rematch for the World Championship, and maybe you debut some new guy there also. I think that is what's gonna happen. You have Seth pin Roman again. I think that's what's gonna happen probably. So let's see what happens. It was an electric ending, like the cheer for Punk, the babyface is standing tall, Seth pulling Braun back like a like a dog on leash. Overall, a great Raw, a 3.5 to a 4, because I I knew a lot of stuff already, but a good Raw. What did you think about this episode? If you like this type of content, like this video, share and subscribe. If you don't, then share it with those who do. My social media accounts, which are my Twitter/X account and my Instagram accounts, are in the description, so go follow me on that. My UPI ID link, which is shabbar@okicici, is in the description also, so go donate any amount of money which you can, which can help me make YouTube a permanent career option. So that was it for me for right now. So thank you, goodbye, alvida.